My son, 16M, has been cheating on his girlfriend, 16F, and has gotten another girl pregnant, 15F. This is a throwaway account for obvious reasons. My son has had a girlfriend for about 2 years now. They were inseparable for months. She was always at our house every weekend and was genuinely an amazing person for my son. He was always a gentleman and a sweet person, so they both deserved each other. He always would buy her gifts and surprise her since her family has had money issues in the past, and it has made her become stressed, and eventually she had to get her own job because of it. She found extreme comfort in my son. She even had my number and always made sure to give me a call or text or to tell me to have a good day or ask me where my son was if she hadn't heard from him. About 6 months ago, they seemed to become distant. She stopped coming over more and more often, and I could hear them arguing whenever she did. Most of the time, she would sleep on the couch across the room from him and they would watch movies all night, but recently, she started to leave earlier and earlier and always seemed upset. I tried to mind my business and give my son his privacy because I know how much privacy means to teenagers. However, one day, this was in September, I couldn't help but ask why she was literally crying and walking out of his room saying the exact words, "If you don't love me, please just say it." He said he was busy with school and that they were arguing too much and broke up. After that, she never came over anymore, and my son started going out more and coming home later. He told me he was finding new friends and exploring new options. Fast forward to 12 p.m. today. I got a text from a girl saying that she found my number in my son's phone and asked if she can talk to me over the phone about my son. She eventually goes on about how they've been hooking up since June, and she found out she was pregnant by him 2 months ago. She failed to give me a specific date. She said she was about 4 months pregnant so far and just turned 15 in late September. Eventually, she tells me how he's had a girlfriend for a while and that he promised to leave her so he could be with the girl and take care of their baby together. I was shocked by this news and thought it was a sick prank, but then she showed me messages exchanged by them where she sent him pregnancy tests and pictures of them together. She was bawling her eyes out on the phone and telling me that her parents would kick her out and she's scared of what his girlfriend will say or do to her. She told me that she wanted to keep the baby and wants to confront his girlfriend, but felt like it was more important to come to me first since he said he wasn't going to tell me until he left his girlfriend. This whole time I thought he was single, but it turns out they have been together and that he's been going over to her house instead, so I would think they were done. This girl eventually told me he went as far as secretly blocking my number in his girlfriend's phone so she couldn't text or call me anymore. I don't know where to begin with this. How do I confront my son? I never took him as this type of person. Like I previously stated, I just found this out around 12 p.m. and do not know how to go about this. My son is at his friend's house staying over and is coming back tomorrow morning. What do I even start with? I'm so confused and torn. Commenter 1. The cheating and the relationships are not the big problem here. It's the pregnancy. This is not something 15/16-year-olds will be able to handle on their own. I would sit down and tell him she talked to you, but allow him to tell his side of the story. He is still your son, and as bad as this is, he's gonna need someone on his side. OP. I'm just so confused on how it even got this far. I have no idea if I should just call him and tell him to come home, or just set up a meeting with the girl's parents and have us all talk about it. She recently called me again and kept telling me not to tell her parents yet. I have no idea what to do next. I have always trusted my son, though, and I hope I can get his side of the story and try to make sense of it all. Commenter 2. Who gives a shit about the cheating? He's about to be a father. You need to get into contact with the girl's parents as soon as possible. Do they even know their daughter is pregnant? How does this girl intend to care for the baby? Are you gonna help her? Prioritize. Edit. Tell the girl she has to come clean to her parents, but tell her that she's welcome in your home if things go awry. Lady, if she's pregnant with your son's child, this girl will be in your life for the next 18 years. Best thing to start off on a good foot with her. OP. The girl refuses to give me her parents' numbers. She keeps calling me and telling me not to contact them at all yet. As far as I know, they do not know that she's pregnant. I have tried explaining to her that she needs to tell them because there is no possible way she can care for the baby herself with no money, but she does not listen and is refusing to tell me anything about her parents. I'm currently texting my son and telling him that he needs to come home now. I hope I can get her parents' information from them. Okay. This is not what I expected, but I was a bit asleep before reading this, but now I'm like wide awake because what the fuck? All right, let's dissect this. So, your son is a terrible person, but he seems like a great person. So, I don't know when this whole thing just like kind of did a 180 and, he just started hating his girlfriend and cheating on her. Anyways, everyone's saying that's not a big problem, but it kind of is, isn't it? Like okay, of course, this kid is the number one priority because, assuming they're not going to have a late stage abortion, then we need to make sure that this kid's in a good home and a good environment to be able to be properly taken care of because 2 16-year-olds can't do that. Um, but your son cheating on his girlfriend with a girl that was at least a year younger than him. He's 16, she just turned 15. So that's where I'm kind of like that's kind of weird too, don't you think? I mean, I feel like we're brushing over the facts here, right? But I do agree that that's something you should brush over if the main priority is taking care of the kid. But then again, like I just said, right? It's still a big deal because your son's a fucking cheater, dude. Like I'd be embarrassed if my son cheated on someone. Like I just didn't raise him right or something. Like I don't know. I don't know where he'd get that from. Anyways, let's get into the update and see how they fix this problem. Final update 1 week later. Disclaimer: to avoid confusion, I'm going to address the girl who is pregnant as Layla. This is not her real name for obvious reasons, but I'm going to say that. Thanks. I apologize for writing this days later. I've had a lot on my plate for the last few days and it has been beyond stressful. Thank you to everyone who gave me genuine advice. I waited for my son to come home from a friend's house. At this point, it was almost time for dinner and was New Year's Eve, so I had ordered Chinese food for us and brought out board games. I figured to start the conversation out slow and work my way towards the topic. I knew he wouldn't open up to me if I approached him with anger. We sat on the living room floor for a while, watching TV and eating and laughing. I then brought up that if something was going on, he needed to tell me. He insisted nothing was going on and became defensive. I asked him if he was sure, and he became even more upset. I stopped giving him the chance to tell me himself. I placed my phone down with the messages Layla had sent, showing me the pregnancy test and the pictures that my son and her had taken together. His face went completely blank. He had nothing to say at first. We sat there in silence for a good minute or so while he was in complete shock that I knew. He started freaking out and telling me that it wasn't what it looked like and that he was beyond stressed from the situation. I remained calm as possible while he started to tell me little excuses. I gave him a chance to tell me how this even happened and what he was planning to do about it without telling me. He told me that him and Layla had met during spring break through his girlfriend. His girlfriend had brought Layla to one of their dates at the mall. She then added him on Instagram soon after and they had had small talk until around May. She often would send him flirty texts and would insist on hanging out. He claimed him and his girlfriend have had a rocky relationship for a couple of weeks and that she was very sneaky and often talked to her ex and other guys that had liked her. He told me this had caused major mistrust between them and they slowly started to fall apart. One day in June, all three of them had planned to go to his house for a while and then go hang out at the park nearby. There is a huge park area a block away and a lot of teens hang out there, my son included. His girlfriend ended up canceling last minute and it was just him and Layla. They talked for a while and he claimed one thing led to another and they hooked up once. I also work on weekdays and apparently this is when all it took place. She often lied to her parents about her whereabouts and they started to hook up frequently. He told me that she said she was on birth control and kept telling him that protection was not needed. We now know that she clearly wasn't. She then told him one day that she was experiencing horrible morning sickness and tenderness in her breast, odd craving for food, and terrible mood swings. My son told her that it was just a period and that she was over exaggerating, but she had secretly purchased pregnancy tests and took 3 altogether that came out positive. He didn't believe her, so she had bought more expensive pregnancy tests, Clear Blue brand, and took them at his house. They both came out positive. He was very freaked out by the situation and didn't know where to go from that point. He asked her what happened to her being on birth control and she gave him the excuse that it isn't always effective. He still feels like she purposely became pregnant to trap him and make them stay together. He said he has been wanting to tell me but hasn't since Layla refused to tell her parents. He said she wore very baggy clothes around her parents to hide her stomach and wouldn't bring up anything about the pregnancy. She often stayed in her room and became quiet at school. He knew she needed to get an ultrasound and needed to figure out the plans for the baby. He pushed for an abortion when she was earlier in her pregnancy, but she denied it every time and wanted nothing but to raise the baby. He lied to her and told her he would leave his girlfriend to help her raise the baby and so they can be together, but she still refused to tell her parents. He was very scared for her and knew she wasn't in the right mind to raise a child. He then went on to say her parents were highly strict but loving, understanding people. He said that they would not kick her out but would most likely not let her keep the baby and let them raise it together. Supposedly, she had lied to me and exaggerated the situation because she knew her parents would not let her keep the baby once they knew. The next morning, I called Layla again and asked her if her mom could stop by one day in the morning to talk about the pregnancy. I promised her nothing would happen to her, and I would try my best to make sure the best decision came out. She eventually gave in after my son convinced her, and soon enough, I had her mother's number. I texted her during the evening and asked if her and her husband could stop by because a situation has occurred between my son and her. She said she couldn't make it the next day, but would come on January 3rd around 11:30 a.m. Layla and her mother stopped by. Her father did not come for some reason. Of course, her mother was completely devastated by the news and couldn't hold her feelings in. They started to argue back and forth for a while, and eventually they both calmed down until Layla had started crying. She was heartbroken by this and kept calling her crazy for thinking she could perfectly raise a child as a freshman in high school. She even called her out on sleeping with a person that has a girlfriend and that she was friends with. She was furious and I could understand, but I knew anger wouldn't help with the situation at all. Finally, after what seemed like hours and hours of trying to come to an agreement, we both agreed on adoption the most. We are not 100% sure yet, but this is what we feel is the best. She is way past the point of an abortion and wouldn't get one to begin with. All of us talked her into giving the baby to a more financially stable family that could give the best care to it. It was hard getting her to agree, but obviously there was no way she could raise the baby like this. Her mindset was completely wrong and she was just scared and way too young to comprehend the reality of a child. I did explore the ideas of a DNA test, but we're still planning on that. She said he was her first ever and that he was 100% the father. My son had agreed on this, but at this point, who knows, right? She finally went for her first ultrasound today and she is pregnant with a girl. She is actually 21 weeks pregnant and is definitely showing. The doctor was very concerned since she's not been to the doctors through her pregnancy until today, but thankfully, the baby seems fine. She is thinking about doing online school temporarily because of people bullying her once they find out. They have both agreed to not tell anybody about them being parents for the sake of people judging them and causing stress to her. He did break things off with his girlfriend and admitted he had cheated on her with a person and that it's best for them to go separate ways. I brought Layla prenatal vitamins and maternity clothing. Her father found out and was beyond enraged, but is trying to help his daughter through this. Her mother said she will keep my son and I updated and have another meeting to finalize the decision, but it definitely seems like she is going for adoption since nobody agrees that they should raise the baby together. My son and her are not allowed to see each other as well anymore or speak to each other unless it's about the child. I guess that's where we are at now. We have a while to go from here and a lot to decide on since adoption is a whole other process to go through, but I feel like I can finally breathe somewhat now. Thanks to everyone again for the advice. OP added more info in the comments. Yes, I am a single mother. I don't know why some people felt the need to comment that and claim that was why my son was out of hand, but yes, his father is not in his life because he takes little part in it. My son turned 16 on August 28th, meaning he was 15 and a half and she was 14 and a half when they started to get together. Their age is obviously a concern because nobody should be that active at those ages, especially unprotected. My son is not a predator or anything like that. He's a junior in high school that enjoys sports and friends. I definitely agree the age difference is a little much, but her parents are not concerned about the age at the moment and neither am I. Her being pregnant is enough to worry about. Of course, I am not letting my son just walk away from this. He is getting a job because I literally buy him everything he needs, so no more of that. He is staying home and going to school and work, and that is all for right now. He is going to have to show me he is much more mature and gain my trust back if he wants more freedom. I guess I let my trustworthy get the most of me and let my guard down too much. Edit. People keep making comments, let me address one more thing. Nobody has forced her at all to give the baby up for adoption. I keep seeing comments that say I forced her to come to that decision. Her mother, my son, her, and I all talked about the possible options we had, and adoption seemed the best. It only takes simple common sense to see that we agreed on adoption because that would have been the best outcome from them and the baby. Commenter 1. I did explore the ideas of a DNA test, but we're still planning that out. She said he was her first ever and that he was 100% the father. Definitely get the DNA test. I would not take Layla at her word at all. She lied about being on birth control. OP. Yes, her mother confirms he was never on any type of birth control. My son brought it up that the girl Layla had told him she was on birth control, the shot specifically, and her mom brought up that she never went to the doctors for birth control, and so she lied. But did she actually lie? I mean, there could be more to the story because who knows from either of them, but she did mention that she was sorry for lying, so I'm guessed that she indeed told him she was on birth control. Well, this is probably the worst but best situation for everyone. I mean, the your son, yeah, he needs to mature and lock in, bro, because his actions are not okay at freaking 16, man. And the girl, she had no idea what she was getting into with keeping the kid, right? I mean, I'm glad that you guys talked her into, adoption and whatever, right? Because there's no way she could have raised that kid. It would have been you raising a second child, right? More or less with them together. And you probably didn't want to do that, and that's okay, right? I don't know why people were hating on the OP for being like a single mother or whatever, and that's why this happened, right? But it's clear that she's just like the original post, like the OP. She's just like a really good person, I feel like. And she was trying to raise her son to just be nice to everyone and make him have maybe a better life than she did, or she felt that she needed to give him a good life where he doesn't really have any responsibilities yet. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's how you want to raise your kid, right? But now that he's put himself in the situation where he's lost her trust, it's definitely important to build back up and he now needs to prove to you that he can be a responsible person, right? Anyways, that's gonna do it for this crazy story. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.